DirecTV versus thing,
Yes.
and that was a pretty strong statement saying people should go and contact DirecTV, put some pressure on. The NHL hasn't really been involved in the negotiations too much here. Is it time to start amping that up, maybe play more of a mediator role in trying to get this settlement?
I think it's, in the final analysis, the parties are going to have to resolve this themselves. I'm aware of what's going on. I've been in touch with both parties. But I do think if the fans make clear what programming they want, I think that will have an impact.
Is this you throwing your support, the league's support behind versus?
Well, these things are never crystal clear and easily determined, except Versus is a good partner, a terrific partner. They've been a great partner. They do a good job covering the game. They've built the distribution that they have, and we want as widespread distribution as possible.
Gary, you kind of talked about this on stage, but despite what's going on in Phoenix, what is the financial state of the NHL right now?
Well, we're coming off of 4 years of record attendance and record revenues, and we think we're going to do the same thing again this year, despite a challenging economic environment. I think we're holding our own quite well. I'm not saying we're not impacted, but I think we're, as a function, I suppose, of how great our fans are, we're hanging in there pretty well, maybe better than most.
Do you see a resolution soon to that Coyote situation?
It's in the judge's hands, and it's up to him on whatever timetable the judge determines is appropriate.
Shame that Wayne Gretzky was collateral damage in the whole thing.
Well, I don't like that term. I wish Wayne would have continued with the club. I respect his decision, and I'm hopeful that if we can ever be in a position to get control of the franchise, we can begin to do all the things that we think need to be done, including addressing Wayne's situation.
Do you think it's on a fast track to be resolved?
You would have to ask the judge that. I never presuppose what a judge may or may not do on what timetable.
You had some incredibly flattering things to say about Ted and the Capitals on stage. Can you expand a little bit more about why you think they're doing so many things right?
Well, actually, I think the 5,000 people here today are the best answer to your question. You look at the fact that the team sold out, you look at how competitive the team is, you look at the young nucleus of players, and you look at the way Ted and this team have connected with the fans. They're firing on all cylinders, doing it right.
How much was it a boost to the league to have Ovi and Sidney Crosby in a 7-game playoff series?
Well, I think that was a great series. Everybody says it was a great series, and obviously that shows NHL hockey in as extremely positive light as you can. It was very exciting, except for Game 7.
Without the 5,000 people, has Washington become a hockey town?
Washington's always been a hockey town. Just it might have been a little dormant around the edges for a few years, but you see the passion here that people have for this game, and it's great to see.
Can this be an example to other markets that are struggling a little? Do you guys envision a day when you have 30 teams like this, like the NFL, perhaps?
Well, but I don't know that every NFL team is as passionately supported as the Capitals are. But the fact is, you're making the point as to why we work with teams to try and fix problems and why we don't run out on cities.
Are you concerned about long-term contracts? We're starting to see that a trend becoming.
Well, I got to ask that question. Some of them will work out great, and some of them won't. It's something that I think over time we have to continue to look at. I've always been a fan and a proponent of shorter-term contracts, except in the extraordinary case, because it gives you more flexibility. But when you look at what Alexander Ovechkin and Ted did to ensure that he would always be a Capital, I don't think anybody has had anything negative to say about that contract.
Can Phoenix recover from a PR perspective if they don't sell out their opener with those prices for their tickets?
Well, frankly, I don't think anything that happens in the short term in Phoenix indicates what the fan support will be. This team has been dragged through a very turbulent time. The fans have been dragged through a very turbulent time, and we've got to get the right things in place before we can even begin to think about recovery. There's no litmus test on, at this point, as to whether or not this team has a long-term future. We believe it does.
What's the thinking of the 2014 Winter Olympics and the NHL participating or not, because some Russian players want to play, obviously?
I think it's a decision we don't have to make at this time. Let's get through Vancouver. We'll look at all the factors and reason together with the players. As I talked about inside, there are challenges in terms of disruption to the season and competitive balance coming out of the break, because certain teams will be more well rested for the stretch run than others. But it's something we're going to have to look at but not now.
We do two more, guys.
Are there any plans to look at the divisions and maybe put the Caps back with their rivals like Philadelphia or Pittsburgh?
And who is it that would move?
That's a very selfish question coming from Baltimore, but is there ever talk about expansion in the future?
Well, we're not talking about expansion, and hopefully we're not talking about relocation. If, in fact, there comes a point where that changes, we'll look at all the possibilities from all interested locations and parties.
To what degree is I mean, you mentioned it was a weird summer for you because you spent all this time in court. I mean, to what degree do you think all of that news being on the front page is a drag on the momentum you had coming out of last season?
Actually, I think other than in a couple of places, most fans don't care. They're excited to get on with the season, and so are we.